The 1962 FIFA World Cup was the seventh FIFA World Cup. It was held from May 30 to June 17, 1962 in Chile. Teams representing 57 national football associations from all six populated continents entered the competition, with its qualification process beginning in August 1960. 14 teams qualified from this process, along with host nation Chile and defending champion Brazil, for the finals tournament. The tournament was won by the defending world champions Brazil, who claimed their second World Cup title in World Cup history by defeating Czechoslovakia 3-1 in the final, becoming the second team, after Italy in 1938, to successfully defend the world title. Host nation Chile defeated Yugoslavia 1-0 in the third-place match to finish third. The 1962 FIFA World Cup was the first World Cup that used goal average as a means of separating teams with the same amount of points. This atmosphere culminated in the infamous first-round match between Chile and Italy, 2-0, which became known as the Battle of Santiago, plus a number of other violent matches that were played throughout this tournament. The average goals per match dropped below 3 for the first time ever in World Cup history, to just 2.78. The average has never been above 3 since. After Europe hosted 2 consecutive World Cups, the American federations claimed the 1962 edition must be held in South America or face a complete boycott of the tournament, similar to 1938. Argentina, after previously failed candidacies, was the favorite. Magallanes chairman, Ernesto Alvear, attended a FIFA Congress held in Helsinki while the Finnish city was hosting the 1952 Summer Olympics. He considered that Chile was able to organize the World Cup. Several sources also say that FIFA did not want Argentina to run alone, requesting the participation of Chile as almost symbolic. Chile registered its candidacy in 1954 alongside Argentina and West Germany, the latter withdrawing at the request of FIFA. Chile's Football Federation Committee, led by Carlos Ditborn and Juan Pinto Duran, toured many countries convincing various football associations about the country's ability to organize the tournament in comparison to Argentina's superior sports infrastructure and prestige. The FIFA Congress met in Lisbon, Portugal on June 10, 1956. That day, Raúl Colombo, representing Argentina's candidacy, ended his speech with the phrase "We can start the World Cup tomorrow. We have it all." The next day, Ditborn presented 4 arguments that supported Chile's candidacy: Chile's continued participations at FIFA-organized conferences and tournaments, sports climate, tolerance of race and creed, and political and institutional stability of the country. In addition, Ditborn invoked Article 2 of the FIFA statutes that addressed the tournament's role in promoting the sport in countries deemed underdeveloped. Chile won 32 votes to Argentina's 11. 13 members abstained from voting. 57 teams entered the 1962 World Cup. Due to rejected entries and withdrawals, 52 teams eventually participated in the qualifying stages. Chile as host nation and Brazil as reigning World Cup champions were granted automatic qualification, with the remaining 14 finals places divided among the continental confederations. 8 places were contested by UEFA teams, Europe, and 3 by CONMEBOL teams, South America. CAF teams, Africa, AFC teams, Asia, NAFC teams, North America, and CCCF teams, Central America and Caribbean, contested 3 playoff slots. The 3 winners would then face a European or South American team for entry into the World Cup. The 1962 tournament was the last one for which only nations from Europe or the Americas qualified. 2 teams qualified for the first time ever: Colombia and Bulgaria. Colombia did not qualify for another World Cup until 1990. Among the teams who failed to qualify were 1958 finalists Sweden and 1958 semi-finalists France. Austria withdrew during the qualification tournament. Originally, 8 stadiums were selected to host the World Cup matches in 8 different cities: Santiago, Vina del Mar, Rancagua, Arica, Talca, Concepcion, Talcahuano, and Valdivia. The Valdivia earthquake, the most powerful earthquake ever recorded, occurred on May 22, 1960. With over 50,000 casualties and more than 2 million people affected, the earthquake forced the organizing committee to completely modify the World Cup's calendar. Talca, Concepcion, Talcahuano and Valdivia were severely damaged and discarded as venues. Antofagasta and Valparaiso declined to host any matches as their venues were not financially self-sustainable. Vina del Mar and Arica managed to rebuild their stadiums while Braden Copper Company, then an American company that controlled the El Teniente copper mine, allowed the use of its stadium in Rancagua. The most used stadium was the Estadio Nacional in Santiago, with 10 matches. The Estadio Sausalito in Vina del Mar hosted 8 matches, and the stadiums in Rancagua and faraway Arica, the only location that was not close to the other cities, both hosted 7 matches. Being largely concerned with the buildup of the country after the 1960 earthquake, government support for the tournament was minimal. Squads for the 1962 World Cup consisted of 22 players, as for the previous tournament in 1958. Ferenc Puskás, José Santamaría and José Altafini became 3 of 4 players ever to play for 2 different national teams, the 4th being Robert Prosinski in 1998. In light of this, FIFA created stipulations describing that once a player represents a nation during a World Cup or its qualifying rounds, the player cannot switch to another national team. The format of the competition was similar to that of the 1958 competition. 16 teams qualified, divided into 4 groups of 4. 4 teams were seeded in the draw taking place in Santiago de Chile, on January 18, 1962, Brazil, England, Italy, and Uruguay. The top 2 teams in each group advanced to the quarter-finals. 2 points were awarded for a win and 1 for a draw. In a change from the 1958 format, goal average was used to separate any teams equal on points. In 1958, goal average was available, but was only between teams level on points in first place, or if a playoff between teams equal in second place failed to yield a result after extra time. Argentina became the first, and only, team in World Cup history to be eliminated on goal average when England advanced from Group 4 in second place. In the knockout games, if the teams were level after 90 minutes, 30 minutes of extra time were played. For any match other than the final, if the teams were still even after extra time, then lots would be drawn to determine the winner. The final would have been replayed if even after extra time. In the event, no replays or drawing of lots was necessary. In May 1960, as the preparations were well underway, Chile suffered the largest earthquake ever recorded, 9.5 magnitude, which caused enormous damage to the national infrastructure. In the face of this, Carlos Titborn, the president of the organization committee, coined the phrase "because we don't have anything, we will do everything in our power to rebuild." Stadia and other infrastructure were rebuilt at record speed and the tournament occurred on schedule with no major organizational flaw. Titborn did not live to see the success of his efforts, as he died 1 month before the start of the tournament. The World Cup venue at Arica was named Estadio Carlos Titborn in his honor and bears his name to this day. Citation needed. Even with these few and low-capacity stadiums, Chile was able to meet the demand for seats as international travel to Chile, far away for Europe, was minimal at the time. President Jorge Alessandri gave an uninspiring inaugural speech before the first match, which was played between Chile and Switzerland. Alessandri left, however, before the end of the match. While Chilean society was living in a footballized atmosphere, Alessandri was criticized for his cold attitude towards the tournament, which forced his ministers to come out and claim he too was footballized as everybody else, just that he was busy. As the competition began, a shift in strategy was imminent. Defensive strategies began to take hold as the average goals per match dropped to 2.78. Under 3 for the first time in competition history. The average has never been above 3 since. Pelé was injured in the second group match against Czechoslovakia. The USSR's goalkeeper Lev Yashin, arguably the world's best at the time, was in poor form and his team went out to Chile, 1-2, in the quarter-finals. Bright spots included the emergence of the young Brazilian Zamueldo, standing in for Pelé, and Garrincha, the heroics of Czechoslovakia goalkeeper William Schroef against Hungary and Yugoslavia, and the performance of the host nation Chile, who took third place with a squad of relatively unknown players. The competition was marred by violence. This poisonous atmosphere culminated in the infamous first-round match between host Chile and Italy, 2-0, known as the Battle of Santiago. 2 Italian journalists had written unflattering articles about the host country. Although only 2 players, both of them Italian, were sent off by the English referee Ken Aston, the match saw repeated attempts from players on both sides to harm opponents, and the Italian team needed police protection to leave the field in safety. In the first round, Brazil topped their group with Czechoslovakia finishing second, above Mexico and Spain. USSR and Yugoslavia finished above Uruguay and Colombia. Hungary, along with England, progressed to the quarter-finals, while Argentina and Bulgaria were eliminated. England had the same number of points as Argentina but progressed due to a superior goal average, the first time such a requirement had been necessary in a World Cup finals tournament. Switzerland lost all 3 games while West Germany and Chile both went through over Italy. Chile defeated European champions USSR to earn a semi-final game against the winner of the England-Brazil game. Garrincha scored 2 goals in a 3-1 win against England. Meanwhile, 1-0 wins for Yugoslavia against West Germany, and another 1-0 win of Czechoslovakia against neighbors Hungary, saw the 2 Slavic states meet in the semi-finals. Viña del Mar was the original venue for the South American semi-final and Santiago for the Slavic one, but due to Chile's surprise qualification, the organizers prompted FIFA to switch the venues. This irritated crowds in Viña del Mar, and only a little under 6,000 spectators came to Estadio Sausalito to watch Czechoslovakia beat Yugoslavia 3-1, whereas a capacity crowd of 76,600 in Santiago watched Brazil beat the hosts 4-2. This game saw Garrincha send off for Brazil and Henri Nolanda sent off for Chile. Chile eventually took third place in a 1-0 victory over Yugoslavia with the very last play of the match. The same player, Eladio Rojas, had also scored the winning goal in Chile's game against USSR. Santiago's Estadio Nacional served as the venue for the final, and after 15 minutes, Brazil again found themselves a goal behind in the World Cup final, as a long ball from Adolf Scherer was latched onto by Joseph Misipust, 1-0 Czechoslovakia. As in the previous final in 1958, Brazil soon hit back, equalizing 2 minutes later through Amaraldo after an error by Czechoslovak goalkeeper Šrojdov. The Brazilians scored goals from Zito and Vava, another Šrojdov error, midway through the second half, and the Czechoslovaks could not get back into the game. The match ended 3-1 to Brazil, a successful defense of the title for only the second time in the history of the competition in spite of the absence of one of their star players of 1958, Pelé, who was replaced by Amaraldo.